Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, welcome to another episode of the Ripple Effect podcast. I am super stoked to have Danielle Prahl join me today. Danielle is just one of those consummate entrepreneurs that you're absolutely going to fall in love with. She has so much going for her. She's an enthusiastic brand creator and someone that is she's an online business expert. I've learned so much from following her on Instagram and just her friendship over these past several years. I'm so excited that she agreed to join for the Ripple Effect podcast. I just want to give you a little excerpt from her website that I thought might be worth sharing. She said, "I'm an online business expert, educator, coach, course creator, and I love to help inspire others to create businesses and lives they love that allow them the freedom and finances to enjoy it. Boring stuff I have to put because it makes me look fancy. I have led over 5,000 students through my courses. I have helped scale 15 clients to multimillionaires in the online space. I'm a best-selling author of the book, Divorce, Drinking, and Dating, and the host of the podcast, Rule Breaker, Dream Maker, a business and marketing podcast that features those who have created success on their own terms while still balancing real life. I'm a big fan of her book. I'm a big fan of her podcast, and she is awesome. So let's dive into this episode right now. That's great. All right. So I'm going to kick us off here and we'll just dive in. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Ripple Effect podcast. I am super excited to have Danielle Prahl with us today. Danielle is, like I mentioned in the introduction, she's just the consummate entrepreneur. She's an online business creator. She's a podcaster and an author. And I have been a huge fan of hers on Instagram for a long time. I feel like we know each other. And so I'm so grateful to have Danielle join us today for the Ripple Effect podcast. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just fanning that you're a fan of mine.
Well, I think you probably have that effect on everybody that encounters you, but you have this amazing influence out there in the online space. And I've been watching with great interest and I've participated in a number of your online sessions. Just love what you're doing and sort of the approach that you're taking to help people live independently, create their own business, whether it's a side hustle or going full in with both feet and building their online business. And we'll talk about those things. But before we jump in, I'm all about the origin story. So I kind of want to know a little bit about who you are, give our audience a little taste of who you are and kind of sort of how you became sort of this online, guru.
How much time do you have? I'll be writing another book. I just kidding. Well, Cliff Notes version. I grew up in a really small town in Wyoming.
Okay.
30,000 people. I mean, it was less than that then, but it's around there now. So we're getting up there in numbers. So we should be excited, Wyoming people. And there weren't a lot of entrepreneurs and things like that. And I saw my parents work traditional jobs, which I think there's a lot of respect for. I mean, I'm not saying that's bad at all. I think it's wonderful. Yeah. I just saw that there was more to life, I guess, and that there had to be a better way to kind of create what you want to create with your time on this earth, because it's so limited. So I was like, why do we go to school Monday through Friday for these hours? Why do we have only these days for weekends? Why do we have only these days for holidays? Why do we eat dinner at 6 p.m.? Like, why? I was just always questioning why.
Yeah.
And it probably drove my parents crazy. So forgive me, mom and dad. I probably wasn't a nightmare as a child. So I was always like, what in the world? Like, why are we doing this? So I don't know. I thought there should be a better way. And I moved to California when I was young, probably 18, just looking for a new adventure and different types of people who live different experiences in different cultures. Mostly because I'd never really been exposed to a whole lot of it. I mean, I don't you've ever even had Mexican food in Wyoming. It is exactly what I would call food.
Yeah, you were limited by Wyoming, it sounds like. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's a wonderful place to grow up.
Oh, yeah.
But there's just not a lot of access to things a lot of other people have in other places. So I was just really excited to learn about different cultures and upbringings and different careers. And I remember my mom was involved in a national hate crime years ago, and we ended up going to California when I was like 15 or 14 or so, and meeting different actors and different people in different kinds of roles. And different industries and just seeing
Yeah.
how different people lived, and they had the capability to have these other jobs and these other careers or even entrepreneurs. And I was like, wow, there's something to this. So anyway, long story short, I ended up getting married in California to a con man. He left me with pretty much nothing. I
Oh,
worked for him and helped build a lot of businesses for him. I owned hair salons in the past and did that as well. And I kind of had to reinvent myself at the age of like 24, 25. And I had always loved the online space. I grew
yeah.
up kind of as one of those young people that where the internet was really booming, and we caught on to it fast. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, and just seeing how people were reaching the outside world, and there was no more barrier between brick and mortar business and what is in your vicinity as far as customers and the types of people you could reach and help. And I saw the internet actually take those barriers away, and allow people to reach anyone, anywhere. Like I'm sitting here having a conversation with you. You
Yeah.
are not in Las Vegas. We're
Yeah.
not on
Yeah.
yeah, we're not in the same time zone, nothing. And we can have these conversations and bring other people into them. And I think that's really the power and the beauty of the internet. And there's just so many opportunities that you could never get bored if you did it for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Well, you touched on a couple of things that I thought were really interesting there. But you were you took that sort of early challenge experience with your first marriage, right? And parlayed that into a book. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Divorce, drinking, and dating. It was that was. I think actually I had a good friend of mine that actually had said they had just read your book, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. That's how I first got turned on to you. Was
No way.
somebody that I knew in Austin that was reading it. She's like, oh, you would love this person. And I think you guys have a very similar personality type and you have this like really cool energy. And then I started listening to your podcast, right? And your podcast was, I was hooked, right? And the podcast is Rule Breaker, Dream Maker. And the thing that I loved about it was you were tying all these life lessons into, hey, look, take that experience and leverage that and build it into something, right? Whether it's making smarter, more informed decisions about big life things that are coming down the pipe or career changes, or putting it into your own hustle so that you can grow your business and control your own time. So a lot to unpack there, but tell us about the book first. Tell us about the podcast. And then, well, I'm sure I'll have some follow-up questions.
Sure, absolutely. So I have a very sick sense of humor. I don't know if you know. It's part of
That's what
my
I like about you. Yep. I love it.
No, I'm actually like a really nice person. I just have a really good sense of humor. I love comedy. Like it's just one of my favorite things. I love writing. So when that situation happened with my ex, obviously it's a terrible situation. Everybody goes through hard
Yeah.
things in life. Not going to sugarcoat it. Life sucks for all of us sometimes.
Yeah.
So don't
Yeah.
feel bad for me. It just was an experience. But I guess I was trying to, as a cathartic way, kind of write about that experience. And it was only for me to see in the beginning. I was just like, this is like, you can't make this up. Like someone would read this and be like, this woman is insane. And this is the funniest story ever.
Yep.
She's brilliant and creative. But it really happened. So like, I kind of like in the moment. So I just started writing it and I sent it to a friend of mine and she was like, this is hysterical. Like you have to put it up on a blog and just kind of see what happens. And I was like, really? And you always get nervous putting yourself out.
Sure. Sure.
Doesn't matter how established or unestablished you are. We all go through that imposter syndrome or like, what are people going to think? Or should I really put that out there?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what else do I have to lose? It's embarrassing enough of a story. So I might just share my version. So yeah, I just wrote it and the blog got a ton of traction. People were reading it from all over and I got approached to actually have it published by several different people. I found this wonderful woman named Megan McDonald. I ended up going with her and she helped me publish it and helped me kind of refine it into an actual book instead of
Yeah.
journal entries that kind of just bled together. And it came out and it reached bestseller in like a ton of categories and did really well. I mean, I never even thought anyone would read it, but I hope, if anyone gets something from that story, very much like you said, the things that we kind of experience and come up against in life, they kind of turn you in a direction. Sometimes that little nudge is the direction you're supposed to go in. And of course, we never see it at the moment, but it makes
Right.
sense later on. And
Sure.
just like giving people that hope, I think is really important because we all have those moments where we're like, oh, life sucks. Like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes we have that moment a couple times a day. You know,
So I find like, laughing stuff off, life's hard enough. It's like if we can make a joke out of it, I mean, we're all gonna die someday. We might as well have fun while we're
yeah,
here.
that's exactly right. That's exactly
Right.
right. Well, the thing that I was impressed about the most on the book was the fact that you really did work on sort of taking your story and building it around larger points that really could inspire your audience, right? And obviously you were doing that through the blog first, but the book really comes through with that perspective. I mean, my friend who recommended it, she had gone through some difficult times, bad relationship. Someone had taken her for a pretty significant financial ride. She thought it was somebody that was going to be a life partner and ended up not being. So there was a lot of, I think, a lot of cathartic moments in reading some of the challenges you went through, and then seeing you come out on the other side. And then I loved how when you launched the podcast, how you were just so open and honest about some of these misadventures that you were having and some of the struggles that you had. And then as you were developing into sort of more of that information entrepreneur, right? Where you were building online businesses and helping companies, individuals turn their ideas into realistic businesses and forming companies around those concepts. It was really impressive because you were like, hey, look, I don't know it, but I'm going to figure it out. And once I figure it out, I want to teach other people how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, my biggest driver, I think, was just having that real control. I
Yep.
think I'm sure your friend can relate when you're in a relationship and finances are involved, or any kind of relationship, doesn't have to be romantic, or even your work, right? If you don't feel like you have some sense of control or direction, it can be really hard in other areas of your life because you're grasping for that kind of control. So for me, I didn't want anyone to have control over my finances or my ability, or how far I could grow or how big I could get, except for me, what I decided, what I
Yep.
wanted, not what someone told me. This is the dream and this is how you get it, right? So
Yep.
I think it changes over time for everyone too. And that's kind of the cool thing. When you own and run your own business, you can grow and evolve as you grow and evolve, which is wonderful. And you
Yep.
don't have to ask permission to grow and evolve. So I think that's really great to give people that capability, that they know they can create and do anything that they want to do, and they can provide for themselves. We can create our own economies. It's not easy. It's not get rich quick. I mean, I put things out there online all the time. I get people thinking like, oh, is this a MLM or network marketing scheme? Or like, oh, I just put stuff up online and people pay me money. Like, that's not really what it is. It
Right.
is a real business. It's a real transaction. You're giving someone a service or a gift or knowledge that they can use and take and make money off of as well. So it is a real thing. It's just some people have gone about it the wrong way, just like any industry. And I just want to bust that misnomer and be honest with them.
Yes.
It is hard work, but
Yeah.
it is worth it.
Yep. Just because you have a couple of hundred Twitter followers and people that follow you on Instagram doesn't mean that whatever you're launching is going to be automatically successful, right? There's a method and an approach that goes into that process, and that's sort of what the genius of your system and approach is to teaching these people, right? So could you give like if there's an audience member out there that's thinking, I've got this great idea. The one thing that stood out to me was in participating with one of your webinars right before COVID, right, was that you were like, everybody has genius, right? And everybody needs to recognize that there is potential to make money and have a career off of that genius if you're passionate enough and if you're knowledgeable enough. You got to put in that work and effort, but if you've got it, there is a process and an approach. And the thing that I loved about it was, here you were on this webinar giving just knowledge nuggets one after another without any expectation of coming back. But you're like, look, I'm looking for serious entrepreneurs that want to take their idea to the next level. And you were very specific about what your target audience was and what you were focused on. But I was just blown away by how much, amazing knowledge you shared. So could you give, maybe that audience member that has an idea, has that genius, that are like, I just don't know. I'm not sure, I'm not known, I'm not, I don't have the experience. And, Danielle is beautiful and she's smart and I just am not that. So what would I do? How would I even get started? Could you give somebody a sense of what that looks like?
Sure. I think the first sense of what that looks like is to realize we all feel that way. I mean, I think to myself sometimes, why
Yep.
would anyone listen to anything I have to say? I am not that cool. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the funniest. I'm not the prettiest, whatever. Like, if you look out there in the world, there's always someone smarter, faster, better, whatever.
Yep.
But I know that there are experiences, and I think it comes from my grandmother. I used to love to go over to her house and just listen to her tell stories. I'm really weird. I like old people, okay? Like, they're just fascinating to me. So
I
I
love it. Me
get
too.
along.
So
Yeah,
much
so
knowledge to be learned there. Yes.
exactly.
Yep.
I'd like, just give it to me. I'll soak it
Yeah.
in. But she would always just talk to me and tell me like all these stories, and her experience of those stories what made it so impactful for me. Someone could say, "Oh, I walked across the street and I found a newspaper," right? You're like, "Okay, good story." But my grandmother's, it was like, "Oh, it was this kind of day, and I did that morning, and I ate this for breakfast." It's an experience, right? So
Yeah.
for me, I try to translate your experience as a person into your business and what you're creating. Because to me, it's like eating at a Mexican restaurant, for say. Maybe I'm craving Mexican today. I keep talking.
I was wondering, we should go get Mexican after this show, but I'll have to fly to Vegas first. But yeah, anyway.
It's Tuesday. We got
Yeah.
to. But no, so basically, like, you could have one Mexican restaurant, right? It has the right ingredients and the right ambiance or whatever, and one next to it that's similar but completely different. And you'll
Yep.
choose one or the other because you like that experience. Well, if someone tells you something, you might receive it in a way differently from the person giving it to you,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me, it's about finding those matches of people that you can relate to. I see most people that I talk to, even like you, when you were in our programs or courses or things that we've done together or webinars, see people as friends.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to get to know them as a person. I want to know their passions, what makes them kind of tick. And then from there, we kind of look at like big picture of what they're ultimately trying to create. But the first step I try to give someone in that audience member who has an idea, wants to get started, doesn't know where to begin. The first thing is, what are you keep being drawn to? What do people keep asking you about? Like, what is something that they come to you for consistently? Obviously, that's something that's second nature to you, and you might not even realize it. Those are
Yeah.
usually the things that are like the easiest go to, right? To start with, to build. Because what we want to do is create confidence when you first
Yeah.
put something out there. Because if you just do it and it bombs, which I hate to say it, it probably will the first time. It's
Yeah.
part of the process. It crushes your ability to kind of get that motivation to put yourself out there again. So
Yep.
I always say start small, but realize if you have an idea or an inkling, just go with it. Get version 1.0 out as quickly as possible, as
Nice.
easily as possible, as much as possible, and then revise it from there. And then you'll get new ideas just by working with people, understanding their problems, seeing other pieces that they were missing from what you gave them. And then you create and go on there. So I'm actually learning just as much from my audience as they're learning from me, because I see things in a different way. I've been in the industry for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what they don't know, right? Like, if I'm an English professor, I know all the rules. I know the stuff, right? I could be talking about, I don't know, Proust or something, and I know all of it. But you're like, "Well, I have no idea what you're talking about." Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes you gotta back it down a little. So it's interesting. I don't know what they don't know, and they tell me, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, I just want to help. So
Yeah.
them telling me and me telling them, that's how you learn, and you really start to understand who needs your help and what that help actually is.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. So how did you decide after sort of the twists and turns of your career that you wanted to focus on helping people in the online business space? I know you mentioned early, like, you kind of embraced the internet as it was coming, it was becoming that resource, and really recognizing it early on that it was a tool for
Mhm.
folks that wanted to go there, that may not know, may not necessarily go to a training program or a webinar, or, well, not a webinar, but an actual in-person training, kind of class or something, but that the internet had the power to, break down not only geographic barriers, but, make it easier to attract an audience to that topic. So how'd you recognize that at the time and say, yeah, I'm going for it?
I think I have always had a very weird, I don't want to say phobia, but almost a strange issue with time. Okay.
Ooh.
It's weird. Like, even when I was little, it's not like a OCD thing, like, I don't have to take medication for it, whatever. But I notice wastes of time. Like, when I
Uh-huh.
see someone waiting in a line or a light or something that could be automated or a system that could be improved
Yeah,
or, like, just, shortening that gap, I guess, just simplifying, automating, I just like things simple and easy for people. I just
I
love
love
it.
it. Yeah.
Makes it easy. So, I hate wasting time. So I think for me, going to a job and sitting for 8 hours when I could complete those same tasks in maybe 30 minutes is a waste of my time. It's a waste
Mhm.
of the company's time. What I actually am getting paid for is my experience and my ability to complete the project. Once you get that in your brain and you understand that that is the value of what you bring, regardless of the time, the energy, the effort, it's the outcome. As long as that is accomplished, it is still worth value.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I don't want to go waste my time away, my energy away, and just sit there doing something that doesn't bring me joy, that doesn't also empower other people to give their own lives joy. I can do this thing online where I don't even have to leave my living room and I can impact lives and I can do it at the touch of a button any time of the day without even leaving my robe and my cup of coffee and my kitchen table. I can just get things done and knock them out. I think that was the very first thing
Yeah.
to this was the time.
Wow. Yeah.
Then just being able to reach people on my own schedule and kind of set those expectations like maybe for instance, last night I didn't sleep well. I was up most of the night. I slept this morning, so I'm good, don't worry. I'm coherent. But I was able to work in the middle of the night. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I was just sitting there and that brought me joy and creativity. Whereas normally I'd just be sitting there watching TV, eating and whatever. So
Yeah.
just that flexibility and the impact you can have, I just saw that in what other people were kind of starting to create online. And I was like, wow, like you can actually sell your skills and your knowledge and your tools to other people that
Mhm.
don't live in your community. I was like, this is really cool. So I just got started. And in the beginning, honestly, I had no idea really what I was doing. I knew online skills, I knew about marketing. I have a psychology degree. I'm a very intelligent person. Don't tell anyone. I like to play stupid. But I didn't know the game.
Yeah.
So I took on any job I could in the beginning. I tried everything I could. I learned from everyone I could. And I really was just a sponge and I kind of figured out my own way of doing things. And I think it translates to certain people. And the people it translates to, it seems to help work for them, which I'm very happy about because my success is their success and their success is my success. It's not about
Yep.
me. Like, I want us all to just rise together.
Yeah. I love that. And so what do you think, I mean, there's so much to sort of, so many ways I could take this in terms of where, I'm just so fascinated by the fact that you learned, something that you were passionate about, you realized what you didn't want to do, which is what a great entrepreneur does. And you recognize that you have something of value that people are willing to pay you for, right? So, there was a form of consulting, there was a form of coaching there. You've manifested that into this huge online presence. I mean, you have a incredible number of followers on Instagram and all the social platforms out there. But at the end of the day, what I've recognized from your content is that you give a heck of a lot more than you ever ask. And so when you do make the ask, the people rise up and say, look, I want some of that. I'm ready to take, my journey or my entrepreneurial path, to higher levels. And you're the one that can bring me there. Right.
And I appreciate you saying that. Honestly, that's a huge compliment because when I started my business, which I think everyone kind of should do and reevaluate from time to time, is why you're doing what you're doing. And people will tell you that all the time. What's your why? What's your why? Blah blah blah. Right. But what I really mean is like, what impact are you having? Does it fulfill you? Is it creative? Are you getting something? Is it an even exchange? Because sometimes we get burnt out when we give more than we receive. But the truth is, like, I receive just as much as my like I give to my audience, I receive as well, which
Yeah.
I'm very appreciative, because if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't show up as much in the way that I do. But I've been able to attract and repel the right kind of people by just showing up really as myself. And I
Yep.
know not everyone's going to like me. I know a lot of people will, a lot of people won't. But the people who do like me, I can actually reach and help. The people
Mhm.
who don't like me, I do not want to waste their time. You know, I don't want to watch somebody I don't want to listen to for hours and try to
Yeah.
do something. And, like, it just doesn't work. So,
Well, I
yeah.
think that's what makes you so attractive is that there's this authenticity that really shines through in everything that you do and how you do it. I think is really great. And obviously now, behind a keyboard, a lot of people can be certainly challenging, right? You're never going to have 100%, fans, and there will be those people that are detractors and want to sort of steal your joy. And I love the fact that you're like, hey, look, I totally get, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You go find somebody that's right for you. I'm moving on and concentrating on the people that do get it, want to be here, and are willing to be, come in with an open mind and be willing to learn. And you've been really abundantly honest about that. I think every time I've seen you speak or present, I think it's really refreshing, right? And where I kind of take away from that's a little bit different is you see other online quote unquote gurus, right? That are, oh, I've got the next best whatever, right? Program, the next path to your $1 million business, et cetera. But they basically lump everybody together and they don't really care what the outcome is. And I think you can tell there's a vested interest in the dynamic that you're creating with that relationship. It's not just a faceless person on the other side of a Zoom call or participating in an online program. You're like literally committed to their success, which is, I was telling everybody in your introduction, I mean, you basically have had 15 clients that have become multimillionaires off their online programs, right? I mean, that's huge.
It is huge, and a lot of them started from scratch, which is crazy,
Yeah.
mind-blowing to me. But really, I love that you get that, because that very much is my approach when I work one-on-one with people, is really seeing what their gifts are and what lights them up. Because when someone's lit up about something, they really translate what they're trying to teach, and it's just this magnetic feeling, right? It just
Yep.
sucks you in. And it's just like there's nothing else like it in the world. But I like to know, like, what their life looks like. What does their daily life look like?
Yep.
Like, what fulfills them, and how do we make this business not only fulfill their customers and clients, but their lives as well? Because if you hate your life and your business is going great, it's gonna crash down eventually, or vice versa.
Eventually. Yep.
And nothing is ever balanced, but as long as we can maintain some form of symbiosis here, I
Yeah.
think we get somewhere. But there's no set plan. There's not a structure. There's not a template. It's not like I start working with clients, and a lot of times they're like, okay, what's your process? Like, where's the spreadsheet? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
literally, I don't start with a spreadsheet. I start
Yeah.
with you. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know about you. You tell me about you. I want to know your passions. I want to know what you've created. What's your favorite customer? Who's the best person you ever worked with? What was exciting about it? Like, what brings you joy? When do you feel the most alive? Do you like talking, pictures, creating, like texting, writing? There's so many options of what we have our fingertips at our disposal, like literally
Yeah.
anything. You don't have to do it all. You just have to do what inspires you, and it will translate to other people.
Yeah. No, and like you said, once you have an understanding of that, then part of that is understanding how do I save time by creating processes to automate that process, that approach, or take the things that you're really good at, focus on that, outsource everything else, right? So that you can really be 100% committed to your core audience, which I think is really a big takeaway.
Oh, yeah. So I like to come in and basically dismantle everything, look at big picture, and then put those little processes into place, because I build backwards instead of forwards.
Yeah.
There is no one size fit all. You always reevaluate and see what's working. And some people, they love having big masterminds. They like doing in-person events. They like doing things like that. Other people prefer to do self-study courses. I have a friend who has like a digital product shop, which I'm actually coming out with one soon, with just easy templates for people they can
Yeah.
download and use. I think it's just easy and helpful. But she does insanely amazing with her digital product shop. She doesn't like to teach one-on-one. She doesn't like to do the courses. She likes to literally just give them the template and that's her business and she has other
Yeah.
things going. So I think there is a way to do it as long as you actually care about your customer, you're impacting them and they're getting the result that you intend for them to get, that they intend to get as well. You're good to go and you can do it in any way you want, right? So I
Yeah.
like to kind of see what that is for that person, because if you put yourself in a mold that you don't fit in, it's not going to translate. I
Yeah.
cannot be Steve, right? I'm
Yep.
not going to
Yep.
be you
Yeah.
with your audience. They're going to be like, yeah, she's cool. I liked her, but she's not you.
Yeah.
Uh, so to me, it's more about not copying other people, but finding what you like about them, trying different techniques, seeing what works for you, and then bringing your side of that and mixing it in. It's like looking at a recipe. You see the base, but you're like, nah, I kind of want some paprika with that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Put some cayenne in there for a little spice. Yeah.
Yeah, try that.
A little something, something. I love that. Well, so let me ask you a question because I would be really curious on your take on this.
Mhm.
There are folks out there that are, sort of what they consider kind of big time influencers, like the Gary Vaynerchuk's of the world, and these top, entrepreneurs that are out there, just supposedly killing it. But this hustle culture that you see that is sort of permeating, especially for what I'll call the newpreneurs, right? Maybe first time, doing or focusing on anything, they're trying to build it, and there's this mindset where if you're not working 24/7, you're not a true entrepreneur. And I think you and I both know we come from similar backgrounds where we know if you work 24/7, you're going to end up hating every aspect of your life, right? And never enjoying it. And to your point, not so much about the why, but you really have to understand what the hell you're doing and what you're doing it for, right? But what's your take on this hustle generation that you see kind of pervade all over Instagram and Twitter, et cetera?
I hate it.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Yes, that's awesome.
I really do. I hate it. I think it's toxic. I don't think that it's healthy for people. I get the idea because I do think I'm 34. I have no problem saying that. Just pretend I'm 21 or 47, or maybe I'm 75 and I look really good. Whatever. My point is, I grew up in a generation where a lot of people my age, I do notice, and I hate to say this because it sounds terrible, like a baby boomer. I'm not an old woman, I promise. We're lazy. Okay, we are. We're complacent and we're lazy. We've had so many things handed to us. There is a culture a little bit in our generation, I do feel, that is a little bit lazy. Okay,
Yeah.
you could probably drop a lot of kids off in the wilderness and they're not going to make it home. Okay, that's just where we're at.
Yeah.
But
We're probably like 95% of them aren't coming back, right?
exactly. So I think to that point, the hustle mentality is good. It's like if you want something, you have to be hungry for it. You got to go for it. You got to put the time, energy, and effort to get it. You have to want it more than other people want it for you because you're your own hype person, especially online. You are your media person, your social media person, your customer service person, your
Yeah.
CEO, your financial advisor, you're everything. You oversee everything, right? Even if you outsource and have people, you still have to pay attention. So I think it's important that people know they have to work for what they want to create. I don't think that's a negative thing, but burning yourself out and working 24 hours a day is incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
Even if you look at school, traditional school, which I also have an opinion on that, but I won't get into it today because we'll be on here for hours. But you go to school, you work really hard, and then you have a break, you go to recess, you play. Then you go back, all work, right? That's what they tried to teach us. So I think so
Yeah.
many of us lock in and we're just like, oh, I got to work, grind, 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 grind. Now I have 30 minutes and this is my time off, right? Well, that balance is going to deplete you in both areas.
Yeah.
We need our fun time. We need our creative time. We need to recharge our batteries so that when we do show up, we're showing up 100%.
Yep.
That would be like me showing up had I not slept at all today and trying to give something to your audience when I have nothing to give.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't do them any good. It doesn't do me any good. And it would deplete me further and they would get nothing from it.
Yep.
Waste of time. So I think hustling to an extent is good, but also knowing when to stop, pause, and enjoy life a little bit too will fuel
Absolutely.
both sides.
Yeah. No, excellent advice. I love that. And I love the fact that you were like, I hate it. I mean, you're the first person that I've asked that question to that has the same opinion as I do, which is like, oh my gosh, it drives me nuts because there's so many people that are out there, and it may have worked for them. And no offense to anybody that's out there, pushing that narrative, but I
Yeah.
see a lot more entrepreneurs, and I do a lot of coaching with entrepreneurs that are burning out because they think that they have to just be on 24/7, and they're really losing their key reasons for why they're doing the business in the first place. And then, like you said, they show up every day and they're not giving their best version of themselves. They're depleted, and businesses fail because of that too, just as quickly as they may scale, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because when you're showing up at half mast, it's not the same. And obviously, people like to be around people who are excited and happy and healthy
Sure.
and energized. And when you're just like, oh, I got to grind some more, guys. We got to get 3 more hours in. Let's do it. Put your nose to the ground. Get it done. And nobody wants to live like that. Like,
No, no.
you can get tunnel vision and get really stuck on something and be so excited about it. I do it too. I could go and work for 3 days straight if I'm really passionate about something. But I know there's a time you have to stop and you have to be like, okay, I got to rest. I need to go outside. I got to take a walk. I got to drink my water. You got to take care of your body or you can't fully operate for other.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. So let me ask you the question from a perspective of someone that's creating an online business. What would you tell an audience member out there that might say, well, I've got this idea. I've actually sort of known for it. Like you said, you got to find that passion, what you're good at, what you're successful with. But you find that those individuals, they've been accustomed to doing whatever that skill set is for a long time for free, right? And their only audience at this juncture is the people that have, they've attracted to their LinkedIn that already know them, or people that are following them on social, and they've been accustomed to giving this genius away for free, but that's their only audience. So how do you help your entrepreneurs get beyond that? How do you get them to think differently or to look towards building sort of beyond that initial audience that is more than happy to take whatever you're giving them for free, but they don't want to pay for what you want to do next?
Right, exactly. So I think there are a couple things I would say. The first is you have to understand if you ask someone, like if I'm validating an idea, a lot of people will tell you with online business, I'll say, hey, Steve, I have this, I don't know, this cell phone. Okay. It's an idea I came up with. Will you buy it for $5? Sure, I'd buy a cell phone for $5, you might say, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. I have it right here. Where's my $5? Like, uh, I
Yeah.
I don't really need a phone, so I mean, it's a good idea. That shows me that you don't have a need for a phone.
Yeah.
Could be the best phone ever, could be the nicest phone ever invented, could change your life. You don't need it, you don't understand it's good for you. You don't
Yeah.
understand what it's good for you. So therefore, you don't want it right now. That's okay. My job is to educate you why this phone is different, right? So I try to tell people, if you have an idea and you're really passionate about it, I had a client, for instance, who was really into email lists. She's really big, one of the big gurus, whatever. We launched this course to build email lists before people were really talking and teaching about it. And it did okay. I mean, it was a launch that most people would have loved to have, but
Sure.
for our launches together, it was not one of the best,
Yeah.
monetarily, I will say. So I'm like, okay, we met our goal and everything, but I thought it was going to be bigger. We
Hmm.
spent the next year educating, not every day, but in between different topics and things she already did, mixing in the education of why email lists were important, how they had impacted her business, how they impacted other person's businesses, different ways you could use them, different ways they connect to what you're already using, all kinds of those things. Then we relaunched it and it
Ah,
did the best it ever had. I mean, it was her best launch ever by far.
wow.
It was
That's
just
awesome.
because we educated them. And then at that point, it's up to them to decide, is this for me? Is that something I can do? Is that something I want to do? Is it something that I need? That's up to them. Your job is to educate people on how it will help them and what it looks like on the other side if they can actually do the work and want to do it.
Yeah.
From there, it is up to them. It doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means it might be bad timing, could be bad educating, could be the wrong messaging. You could have been talking to the wrong people. And then when it comes to free audiences, I think We live in a world where we are used to giving away so much free content that some people overcompensate with their free content, trying to prove that they are the expert or the guru, or they think if they just give it away for free, give it away for free, give it away for free, people will understand that they are very intelligent. But there's also this part that shows that maybe you don't have the confidence, or you don't value your gifts
Yeah.
enough to say, hey, this is my boundary. This is my energy. This is my genius. This is my skill set. I deserve to be paid at a certain point for that. And you can say that in a very nice way. Like, I have people who message me and ask for free advice all the time. I might give them a little tidbit or something, or have a conversation. But I say, like, if you really want some real help, I have this resource for you. I have this course you can take, or you can work with me one-on-one. And you just put it out there, and it's up to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
But you have to give them the opportunity. So many people don't give them the opportunity to have a paid transaction because they're scared. They don't think they're worth it. They don't think their product is worth it, that they never even ask. And
Yeah.
the more you get used to asking, the more those people will transition to, like, hey, Steve did so much stuff for me. I learned so much stuff from him. I want to buy that course just because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's helped me so much. And then they start taking it and they're like, wow, this is actually really good.
Yep.
And then they keep going. So to me, it's about that customer journey and following your customers through their kind of periods in time too, whether they're beginners or you grow with them or whatever that next step is. But you need to definitely educate, and you need to make sure you are making offers and that you believe that you deserve to be paid for your work.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
don't.
that's really good advice for sure. What about the the people that are thinking, well, God, that sounds great, but I don't have anybody. Like, so I've got something, but how do I, your recommendation is, hey, put it out there, share the information and the knowledge that you can, right? Get that, education piece out there so that people start to recognize this person, even though they may not know you, they may discover you because of Instagram or LinkedIn or one of the online platforms. They start to see that this person really is bringing value, but you have to be sure that you're focused on building the right audience and that you're making the ask, right? That, hey, look, I'm doing this because there's a longer term opportunity here for us to work together.
Exactly. Well, I like this is a very simple example, but I like to think of it as like a coupon, right? If you come up and you're walking by me and I'm on the sidewalk and I give you a coupon for a $5 cheeseburger, right? You're gonna be like, okay, cool, I'll get a free cheeseburger. I'll go eat it. No problem. Are you going to go back every day and eat that cheeseburger? Or are you just going to keep walking around? And if someone hands you a coupon, you're probably going to eat the free cheeseburger if you find
Yep.
another one, right? It
Yep.
doesn't build loyalty. It
Right.
builds someone who's looking for something for free. It's great to give out free content and help people so they get a taste of your teaching, your skill set, your expertise. But then you have to draw that line somewhere where it's like, yes, you have to actually pay and be a part of this because we're holding each other accountable in this exchange, and it's
Yep.
only fair. So to me, I think, you don't have to go out there and hire or spend a bunch of money or do whatever. If you have an idea and you're passionate about it, educate people, put it out there, have fun with it. And I think people forget, in the world we live in today, you have to be a whole human being. Like,
Yeah.
I do different parts of my life, not everything, but just different parts of my personality and things like that. Because we're all human beings, right? We're
Yeah.
not just one-sided, like this screen right here. Like,
Yeah.
Steve is a complex person. And the more you fall in love with Steve, the more it makes sense why you do what you do, right? And that it translates better. So I don't know. That's just how I feel about business.
I love that. And I've also never had anybody call me complex. So I love that even more.
But in a good way,
Yeah.
It's simple.
Absolutely. No. Yeah. Well, so let me switch gears for a second. Well, before we actually do that, how would people, learn about the programs that you're offering? Is there a place that they can go that would be a good place to start or engage you in a conversation and say, like, I've got this idea. I really need that one-on-one coaching, or, could we have a consult so that I can throw it out there and then you sort of help guide and say, hey, this is the program you need, or this is the training you might want to attend, or a webinar that's coming up. Is there, where can people learn more about, how to get involved and work with you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty easy. I mean, obviously, I'm on all the socials. I usually use Instagram. I'm getting really into TikTok these days. I've found that it's like kind of fun to play around on. It's a little
Yeah.
different. Even though it's been around for a while, I like it better than I used to. But I have a website as well, the danielleprahl.com. It's being rebranded right now, but it'll be up in
Okay.
like 2 days. So that's good. You
Okay.
guys can check that out.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
my programs on there. But yeah, stalk me on Instagram at the Danielle Prahl, and I'm on Facebook as well. But I'm very honest. Like if someone reaches out and they're like, hey, this is what I want to accomplish, like what is the step for me to take? I actually really do care and want to know. I'm not going to
Yeah.
just hold on whatever I have at the moment. And I'll be honest, if I don't think that it's going to help them, like I've had people try to hire me to do a launch they've never launched before, they don't have an idea. I'm like, I feel like this is going to be a waste of your money if you don't attempt it
Yeah.
a little on your own at first. So, but I love to chat with people. I love getting more information from them, what they're struggling with, anything, because it helps me, like I said, create as well. So yes, just stalk me on all the places.
I love that. Stock Danielle at all Instagram. You're on Twitter, right?
Yep. Twitter, yeah.
TikTok. Obviously, I got to follow you on TikTok. I'm not following you on TikTok, so that's a great
I
tip.
haven't posted anything yet, so
Yeah.
just don't judge me. I will say, I promise. I'll do my post.
I love it. I love it. So switching gears here, I've got a couple of just rapid fire ripple questions I want to ask you, right? So the concept of this podcast is to give people not only great content from great people like yourself, but really give some, kind of ability to realize what it takes to kind of connect and engage with people. And a lot of that is around questions that I tend to ask people when I'm out trying to build my own personal and professional network, right? So one question, one ripple connection question I'd have for you is, where do you find your inspiration?
Where do I find my inspiration? I love this question because there are very, very many places. I love reading, to be honest. I like kind of the idea that you can travel and experience different people's lives and different
Yep.
cultures, different places without ever leaving your room. Although I'd love to actually travel and visit some of them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I get inspiration from that, from food, from cultures, from other people who have these amazing artistry. I don't know. I love seeing someone who's so good at their craft. Like I watch cooking shows all the time and building shows and all these crazy shows on just how people get so good at what they do. Just seeing that love and the passion for what they do gives me a lot of passion and creativity in what I do. So I don't
I
know,
love
just
that.
seeing that look on someone's face when they're just so in love with what they do.
Yeah. And you can tell it's palpable, right? You can tell, and it's inspiring. One of the things that I've recently gotten heavily involved in is when I go to the gym, I play one of the master classes. So I go through, because there's like 26 or 28 different lessons by all these brilliant people. So whether it be cooking or, writing or creating online programs or whatever the case might be, there's all these very, well-known influential people, actors and writers and well-known personalities that are out there that really want to tell you exactly what they did in order to be successful or how they made it their business or profession.
And I'm so mad at them for creating that because I had that idea years ago. I love that they did it. They did an
Yeah.
amazing job.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's pretty awesome. Well, I mean, you mentioned it. Is there any particular books that you're reading right now that, that really kind of stand out to you as really kind of being, hey, sort of shape shifting in terms of your thinking or your business strategy?
Sure. I read a lot of different types of books. I kind of switch between fiction and nonfiction,
Yeah.
just because I kind of do like that storytelling vibe too. I don't
Yeah.
just read business and A, B plus C, whatever kind of
Yeah.
thing. But I read one of my favorite books again recently. It's called Survivor by Chuck Palahniuk. He wrote, God, what's that movie? I know you'll know, Fight Club.
Fight Club. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's my favorite author. He's written a ton of books. They're all really good, but Survivor is one of the better ones. And
Great.
it's a very interesting story. I don't know how to explain it, but there's something about his mindset and the way he views the world and the people around him that I find really interesting. And I just felt like rereading it for some reason.
Yeah.
And, it was really enjoyable, but to me, it's kind of just his perspective and how he kind of sees the outside world in a way that's different, and it kind of reminds you to step back and look at your surroundings a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's always helpful because we get so inundated with our day-to-day stuff. Like, it's kind of a nice reminder. Plus, it's a hysterical book.
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate that tip. I'm actually going to put it on my list. I've actually, you're the second person that has recommended that book to me.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, that tells me something right there. So I'm gonna go put it in my Amazon cart right after we get done here. So
It's so good.
yeah, awesome. Well, I'll give you full credit for that. What do you think the best thing about being an entrepreneur in your mind is?
The best thing, I think, is feeling free. To me, it really gives me a sense of freedom, and it could very well be a false sense of freedom. We all
Yeah.
live in a world we don't run, technically, right? We're all at the mercy of the government and things going on, and other people and relationships and all these things. But to me, it gives me a sense of freedom and purpose and passion, where I feel like I can really create and do anything. And even if that's not true, I feel like it is, and I'll take it.
I love it. Oh, I love that. What would you say the best thing you could hear a friend, a family member, or a client say about you?
I would say that I made them feel comfortable being themselves.
Oh, I
I
love
think
that.
is the greatest compliment, because if someone feels like they have to be different for me, or they have to put on a different mask for me, or they have to tiptoe around me or something, I don't feel like that's an authentic relationship, I guess, or exchange. When someone can truly be themselves and be honest with me and feel like they can be their whole selves around me, that's the greatest compliment, I think, that they
Oh, I
can
love that.
trust. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer for sure. And the last one, because this is titled The Ripple Effect, what does the ripple effect mean to you?
To me, I get kind of visual. I almost see like when you drop a pebble in water and it
Yeah.
ripples out, right? Like, that's what I see is, if you drop something, whether it's an idea or an act of kindness or a smile or anything like that, I think more positive, but I guess it could be negative too. And it does ripple out, and it
Yeah.
affects everybody. I read this book called Dying to Be Me by someone more. I forget her first name, but she had a near death experience, and she talks about seeing life like a spider web,
Yeah.
right? Like, everybody you've ever met, everything, it's all intertwined, and it's this big thing. That's what I see as the ripple effect. We're all connected. Even if
Yes.
it's not an actual ripple, the vibrations underneath are still all connected, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you do something positive, it will ripple out. If you do something negative, it will ripple out. And focusing on making that good impact is kind of what I see the ripple effect as. But I would like to hear yours.
Well, yeah, you and I are
Really?
very similar. It very much is any action, big or small, that makes an impact on another person. Like you said, could be good, could be bad. But I'm a big believer. If you think of the science of a ripple, it ripples out, but that ripple always returns to the center. And so it depends on the authenticity and the deepness of the action that you take in somebody else's behalf, even if it is a complete stranger, right? You
Mhm.
create these opportunities to make a difference. And like you said, everything is sort of intertwined, right? And so oftentimes those ripples that you make will come back to you in ways that you can't possibly imagine. And so for me, it's always been fascinating to look and understand the decision points that I've made in my career, or the relationships I've had, good and bad, and the decisions that I made, how each of those really, if you look at it, was some form of action, some form of ripple that I created. And if you show up in your authentic self, and you're doing it with a good heart and a good mind and the best intentions, life just has this funny way of tending to work out a little better for you. And so for me, that's what it's all about. It's about not just making a difference out there in the world, because that seems very altruistic, but it really, at the end of the day, if you're doing it enough and you're actively trying to contribute to other people's lives and being a good person and as best a person as you can be, um, the odds are in your favor that things are going to turn out probably better than most. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's thank you for asking that. I appreciate that. I mean, everybody that follows the podcast or watches any of my videos probably hears way too much about the ripple, but at the end of the day, it's the ripple of connection. I mean, you were so kind and nice to me when we connected online, and you've been just so authentic. Like I said, I mean, this is the first time we've ever actually had a face-to-face conversation, but I feel like I know you because you are just so giving and just such an amazing spirit. And I was so, and I pursued you for a long time to get you on the show. So it's taken a long time for us to make it work from a schedule perspective, but it was so worth it because you are just such an amazing soul. And I'm so grateful to know you and consider you a friend.
Thank you. I feel the same way, Steve. And honestly, like I have to tell you, for my birthday, I did not know what to do. And you had messaged me and you were like,
Uh-huh.
ripple effect, give to other people this year, do that. So I did. I gave a bunch of free Starbucks away.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they were so excited. So I have to thank you again for that.
Oh, thank you for remembering that. Oh, that you just totally made my day. Thank you.
True, the ripple effect's working. But no, thank you for
Absolutely.
having me on. I'm so glad we finally got to do this.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and say one more time just before we go, and we'll put this in the show notes as well. But will you tell everybody just one more time how to get a hold of you, how your website, and then what your handle is for your social?
Yeah, so thedanielleprahl.com is my website, and then at the .com is not there. Just at the Danielle Prahl.
At the Danielle Prahl.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, I am so grateful that you came on to the show. I really admire you. I am so absolutely taken by your approach to building your business, helping other people. I mean, you are the embodiment of a Rippler, and I'm so grateful to know you and can't wait to see all the great things that are coming down the pipe. I know you've got several things in the works, new programs, new webinars that are coming down. And so I encourage everybody to be sure to follow you on social and get on the website. And I know you said you're relaunching soon, so there'll be an opportunity for them to get on your email newsletter, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yep. And then be sure to listen to the podcast. I mean, the podcast, do you want to make a quick plug for the podcast? I mean, just to tell people how they find that. It's on, I think, on all the platforms, right?
Oh, yeah. You can find it on my website. You can find it on Apple, but it's Rule Breaker Dream Maker. It's basically about creating your own success while still breaking all the rules and living life your own way. I like to show people's kind of interesting stories of how they got to be where they're at today and just discuss business that maybe other people aren't discussing. So it's really fun.
Yeah, it's an excellent, excellent podcast. And I would encourage everybody to go check out the podcast and subscribe because you are hilarious on there. And you have some just, really, great knowledge nuggets you drop in every episode. So, I definitely encourage everybody to do it. Guys, I really want to thank you again for joining us for the Ripple Effect podcast. We'll be back again soon with another episode. But in the meantime, Danielle, ripple on.
Thank you. You too.